I'm Rachel Tiemeyer.
I'm Polly Conner.
And we are Team Thriving Home, and we are so glad you're here today.
Yeah, we are going to make 6 freezer meals in 1 hour using our 1 hour prep session. And this is session 3. You can find this in the link below or at onehourfreezerprep.com. So, what are we making, Rach?
All right, I'll tell you what we're going to make. There are 3 great recipes. The first one is our fake out lasagna. So, in order to do this in 1 hour, we've got to take a few shortcuts. But I tell you, it's not cutting any kind of flavor or texture or anything. We're going to use some frozen cheese ravioli in this, and it's delicious. Your family is going to love it.
My kids love this one. It's always gone, which is rare.
The second recipe we're going to make is our oven roasted pork tenderloin. So I was in a freezer club for 7 years with a bunch of my friends where we would swap freezer meals, and we had a home run list of recipes that we wanted to make again and again, and this one made it.
It's so easy.
It is, and the fake out lasagna, I forgot that was on it as well. So
you can call it the home run freezer prep
exactly. And our third recipe is our chicken Parmesan sliders. Guys, this doesn't get any easier, this recipe. It's perfect for weeknights. Kids love it. Adults love it.
Yep.
So what do you think?
Really family friendly. All right, let's do it.
Let's get started.
Woo!
Guys,
let's go.
We're on step 1. We're going to prep the veggies for the lasagna. There's not a lot of veggie to prep this time.
This will go a little faster. But you have a little trick on cutting an onion though, that you like to show.
All I have to chop is 1 onion this time.
Right.
So I cut off the end, not the root end, the other end, and I'm cutting it in half between the roots. So I cut the root in half, and now I'm going to peel off the skin. If you want to help me on this side,
for sure.
you can. And I'm going to just stick it in, not all the way to the root, okay? Because I don't want to cut through the root, but I'm going to start making some sticks. And the smaller you make these little sticks, the smaller your dice will be on your onion. And personally, I don't like big giant chunks of onion in my meat sauce. We are going to saute these though, so they'll get nice and soft. So I made my sticks across, and now all I have to do is go the other direction, and it becomes cubes. It's that easy. And one of the things that's great about this method is because the onion is already in layers, it kind of falls apart. You might have to break it apart a little bit with your fingers, but look at that, perfectly diced onion. So easy.
Another shortcut. So we do have in the recipe garlic cloves, mince them up, but we always take a shortcut of just buying, as you can see, I buy the big boy here. So the pre-minced garlic, I have found there's no, you're not, it's a shortcut that doesn't come at any cost.
I know, exactly.
It's like the flavor is still there. It's so much easier just to use pre-minced garlic. So we're just going to use this too.
Okay, and I wanted to show one more tip before I finish this onion. One of the things like some people do is I see them like hacking this. Just keep the tip of your knife on the board, and it gives you much more control as you go down through that onion.
Okay? I've also been told use spider fingers. Think about this.
Oh, when you're cutting,
I told my daughter that she started to use the knife. So I said make your spider fingers. That way you don't get a fingertip in there.
For sure. All right, so we finished step 1, and we will let you know what to do on step 2 next.
We are on step 2, and I am making the meat sauce for our fake out lasagna. Now I have some onions in here that have been sauteing for about 4 minutes. They're starting to get soft and they're starting to smell good. And we use avocado oil. You could also use olive oil, but
avocado oil is my favorite oil to use for high heat cooking like this. It's safe, and it has what's called a high smoke point. So it doesn't break down at a high heat like extra virgin olive oil might. So that's what we suggest using.
Yeah. So I am using our pre-minced garlic, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw this in at the very end, because if you put it in while you put the onions, it'll get burnt and get kind of bitter.
We always instruct that.
Very end here. Those will saute with the onions just for about 30 seconds or so, just so you can start smelling them. This might be a little bit hot for it, actually. So turn that down.
And one of the things, I don't know, did you say about the seasoning along the way?
I did.
Okay, so one of the things too that we often say is you can build flavor in a recipe by seasoning along the way. So when you're sauteing your veggies, give it a little salt, a little pepper. Polly is kind of working fast here because her onions and garlic are done.
Okay, yes, the meat is going in. So this is a pound of ground beef and a pound of just ground sausage. It's going to be very, very flavorful. It's going to get really loud back here.
So while she's browning the meat, and that'll take 5 to 7 minutes or so, one of the things that's great about this recipe is you don't have to use a ton of meat to get a lot of flavor, and that's because of that sausage. While she's doing that, and while you're working on that step, once you get that meat kind of going and broken up, she's breaking it up with a wooden spoon, you can actually move on to step 3. And step 3 is you're just going to add your labels to your 4 bags. only 4 bags because the other recipe, our lasagna, goes in some hard containers. So I've got those here. Remember, you can print these out. These freezer labels are pre-filled in. And I'm going to use some packing tape that I pre-measured and stick that on these bags. We say it's important to do this step ahead of time. And one of the things you can do ahead of time too is you can fill in the empty blank at the bottom with any kind of side dishes you want to serve with it, or like serving ideas.
It's much easier to write on them before the food's in the bag. So do all of your filling out of the ideas you have, the date you created it, all that stuff before you take them.
And we've done the work for you on that. We've given you lots of ideas in your packet. So refer to page, I think it's page 3. Refer there. We'll tell you how to serve it. We'll tell you side dish ideas. So it's pretty much a no-brainer for you.
This is one trick. When this gets done cooking, to drain off the grease, an easy way, one thing I do is I get a big bowl. I put paper towels in the bottom, and then I put the colander on top. I like to use a metal colander because it's going to be hot food going into it, and you don't want that plastic to leach into your food. So use a metal colander if you have one, and then the grease will just drain through, and the paper towel absorbs it. So that way you don't have a big a bunch of liquid to figure out what to do with. You don't put it down your drain, but it's just so much easier to throw away that paper towel than it is to figure out what to do with like half a cup of grease. So that's one little hack on that. Guys, we forgot to tell you something. Whoops. If you follow your steps, you're doing the right thing. So we didn't finish up step 2. You need to, after you've drained your grease off of your ground beef and sausage, you're gonna dump it back into that pot and then add your marinara. That's it. We didn't mess you up too much. We just kind of forgot to mention that little part. Nice. So I'm gonna dump this in here. Whoop.
And there goes 2 jars of marinara sauce. And for the marinara sauce, this is another shortcut we take. You can make your own. We have a recipe on Thriving Home that's delicious. It just takes hours in the slow cooker to make. But we really like to just buy organic marinara sauce from the store. It tastes great. It's really not that expensive. So step 4, we are going to season and prepare our pork tenderloin. I've got my 2 bags ready in baggie holders here with our labels, and we link to these baggie holders below. They are great if you make a lot of freezer meals. We highly recommend them. They're really cheap. I've got my pork tenderloin here ready to go. Guys, we had a little mishap with the ordering of the pork tenderloin that we don't want you to make the same mistake. So we ordered 2 pork tenderloin, but they ended up both being rather small. So because we were ordering and having it delivered, we couldn't see it ourselves. So really, if you get them this small, we would suggest this would be one meal. Like this would be my family's.
These were less than a pound each.
They were less than a pound each. So
I specifically said 1.5 pounds.
I know, dang it. So you want at least 1.5 pounds if you can of pork tenderloin for this recipe. All right, I'm going to start by building the seasoning.
And this is just a dry rub that's going to go on these. This is one of the easiest like dump and go type freezer meals that we make here. So what's going in here is garlic powder.
Yep.
I'm just going to call out the seasonings as Rachel's doing it. This is dried oregano.
One of the things you can do with like a dried herb like this to kind of bloom the flavors a little bit more is it's called crush in hand. It's interesting because when you do that, you really can like smell it more, and it releases some of the oils into the rub.
Yum. After that is 2 teaspoons of cumin.
Do you say cumin or cumin?
Oh, I'm not cumin. I don't know. We've learned all sorts of words we say differently around here. And we have 2 teaspoons of coriander.
This ain't coming out.
Oh no.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
I'm eyeballing it. That's right.
I told you, gotta
That's
be
right.
like rough with it. All right, and then did you skip the thyme? I think you skipped the thyme.
I'm doing 2 teaspoons of salt,
Mhm.
and then I'll get to the ground thyme there. Okay.
Ground thyme and pepper is all that's left.
So 1 teaspoon of ground thyme. I tested it with 2 teaspoons. It was just too overwhelming of a flavor, but it's good with half of that.
Thyme's a pretty strong flavor.
And 1 teaspoon of ground pepper. So mix this together, and then you're gonna get your hands dirty. But it is a very easy recipe.
Do you ever put on plastic gloves when you do these jobs?
Actually, that's a great idea. I do it for meatballs, but I should do it for this as well.
I have some, but it probably wouldn't look great for you on camera.
All right, here's our tiny
Now, we
pork
recommend
tenderloin.
getting like a rimmed either baking sheet or dish like this, just because then you can be kind of messy with the seasonings. You can roll them around in there and make sure you pick it all up. So,
one of the things for this recipe too is if you were making this from fresh, one thing you could do to add flavor is you can actually saute it, like sear it on all sides in a pan before you bake it.
But you cannot do that if you're going to freeze it. You cannot cook something like this, especially meat, and then freeze it. It just brings it to a temperature level that's not safe. And so we do not recommend that for freezing. However, I've just found like baking it straight from thawing and not skipping that searing step, it's still delicious.
It's really good. It's got a lot of flavor in it.
It really does.
And we give lots of suggestions in the packet on how to mix up this recipe along with all of our recipes, because we know you're making 2 of the same meal, so we know you may not want to eat that same meal twice in a month or something. So we gave lots. I remember looking at the notes in this, and there's a chimichurri sauce that we have that is delicious over pork tenderloin. So we'll link that too. But that, or you can put it on a sandwich, or you can shred it. There's just so much variety with this recipe.
We also like to serve it with a little barbecue sauce on the side for dipping.
Yeah.
That's really good too.
Yeah.
So I usually bake it, but you guys grill it sometimes, don't you?
Yes. I love to grill pork tenderloin. I'm telling you, once you do that, you won't go back. We also have a recipe for that on our site. So it's called the 7-6-5 method, and you'll have to go to the post to see what that's all about.
When we can link to that below as well.
Yep.
I'm going to wash up, I'm going to seal this and go ahead and freeze our tiny pork tenderloin, and we'll move on to the next step.
We are on step 5. We are going to prep our chicken Parmesan sliders. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to season these chicken breasts right in the packaging. This saves the dish and it ensures that you can get seasoning on each side. So I just eyeball this. I'm just doing some pepper on each side here. And then I'm going to do some salt, and then I'm going to flip it.
We've also, remember we already labeled our chicken Parmesan freezer bags. I've got them in these little handy baggie holders.
And then look at this. You don't even have to touch the chicken. We're just going to do 3 chicken breasts in each bag. And then after that, I'm just going to dump a jar of marinara over it.
What?
And that's it, guys. Seriously, so easy.
It's like the easiest
I feel like we're like
ever.
cheating or something by how easy this is.
So the thing you might be thinking is, okay, that doesn't look like a very big meal, but honestly, 3 chicken breasts, this is a great way to like really be budget friendly. Is what happens is you cook that down in your slow cooker or Instant Pot. We give you directions for both, and then you shred that chicken in the sauce, and then it goes on these little slider buns. We find these little wheat cocktail buns in the bakery section of our store, and they work great, but really whatever bun you want. And then you're going to put a slice of provolone cheese and a little sprinkling of Parmesan cheese. These make up to, I think it serves like 6 people. I think it makes 12 sandwiches.
Yeah.
So isn't that amazing?
I want to add something too. If you do make these in the Instant Pot, one little trick to freezing chicken freezer meals is to make sure that chicken is not stacked up. So if you have an Instant Pot, you're like, I want to make this to cook straight from frozen in the Instant Pot. What I would do is I would freeze it like in a circular form of some type, like I'll get a bowl or even the Instant Pot bowl and freeze it flat so that chicken's not stacked up on each other and it's kind of in a circle. That way all you have to do is dump it in your Instant Pot and push a button and it cooks straight from frozen. So it's a great meal for that. We have an Instant Pot freezer cooking times chart too. We'll put that in the notes for you.
We're now on step 6. And we're in the home stretch. This is our second to last step. We're going to put together our chicken Parmesan meal kits. And this is really fun because you can just pull it out and you have everything you need for dinner. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm going to start by cutting the cheese.
Yeah, I just said that.
Sorry, I'm like a junior high kid. Okay, and Polly is, in the meantime, she's going to actually measure out 3/4 cup of grated Parmesan cheese in little baggies. I'm cutting some provolone cheese. You're bad at it. I'm cutting provolone cheese into 4ths like this because it's nice to have little pieces that you can place on each of your sliders.
It's called audible here. This is going to get messy if I try to dump that into a 4th cup. So
whatever
I'm going to
you need to
eyeball this because, again, it's a hard to mess up meal. So
Right.
why are you cutting it in 4ths? Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, I did. So that way you'll put like 2 or 3 little pieces on each sandwich.
Because if you just put one big piece of cheese on a slider, it's going to like melt all over the sides.
That's a little too much. Yes. It's just a little too cheesy if that's a thing. All right, so I've got my cheese package. We have our chicken Parmesan package. And now what we use is just, I don't know if you guys have a million of these lying around. I do. It's just grocery sacks, but you can use whatever you want. And I'm going to put my chicken in the sauce. I'm going to put provolone cheese. We're going to put a Parmesan cheese packet. And then we're going to put our buns, boom, all in a meal kit.
So we're gonna make 2 of those. There's one. Here.
This is a great meal to take to others too. We love making meals like this because that way everything's there that they need, and they can either pop it in the freezer if they want to, or they can have it that night. So if you need a meal to take to others, this is a really good one.
Yep. All right, one more cheese packet in that one. Boom, done. And guys, we're on to our last and final step.
Do it. Guys, we are on our final step of your 1-hour prep session. We are going to prep and label the lasagnas. And like I said, this is one of my kids' favorite meals, so I'm excited to have one even tonight.
Yeah, you guys are having it for dinner.
Yeah.
Molly is gonna start by spraying the pans with some cooking spray just to make sure they don't stick while it bakes.
Rachel's going to talk me through this because this is one of those that you have to look back and forth a lot, and so it's easy if someone reads off the directions to you.
So now add a thin layer of sauce, thin, to the bottom. This again is just to prevent it from getting kind of dry on the bottom or sticking in any way. So you don't want to use too much because you want to make sure you have enough for the rest of the casserole.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now Polly's going to use half of the frozen ravioli that you have and divide that half between both of the dishes, okay? So she's basically using 1/4 of the ravioli per dish, if that makes sense.
And this is one of those recipes that it's all going to kind of melt together in the end. So don't get too caught up on like, oh, I have to use exactly 50%. Like, it's all going to kind of blend together. It's just a matter of kind of getting the layers in the right order versus the amounts that go into it.
And do you think it's kind of important to make sure they're like not totally overlapping each other too?
Yep. And the nice thing is you can use frozen ravioli.
Yeah.
So we tested that because we used to tell people to cook your ravioli before doing this, but we realized, wait, it cooks for so long in the oven, you don't need to pre-cook it.
And what's great too is it'll kind of expand, and this takes the place of your noodles and that ricotta mixture that takes time to make. So this is our shortcut for sure.
I think that's about half of those.
Looking good. Now she's gonna ladle 2 cups of this meat sauce over each of the pans. Okay, so she's gonna kind of spread that out, and you don't have to get messy in there and like push things around as needed.
It all melts together in the end, don't you?
So there's 1 cup on each one. What's so great about this casserole is it's really meaty, it's hearty, it's cheesy. It's a very comfort.
You can also sneak some spinach in this sauce.
I love that, yeah.
So I love to clip in as I'm cooking sauce, like marinara sauces, clip in a little spinach. The kids will never know.
Right.
So,
oh wait, you need one more.
Oh yeah, I wanted to
per, yeah, one more.
Okay.
Yep. So you're gonna do, so the layering is the ravioli, meat sauce, cheese. Ravioli, meat sauce, cheese. You're gonna do it twice. Now she's going to move on to the shredded mozzarella and do 1 cup.
My very accurate measurement.
There you go. Big giant handful. 1 cup per 8 by 8 inch casserole dish. Now we're going to go back to our ravioli. We're going to divide up the rest of that ravioli between the 2 pans.
Again, try to kind of single layer as much as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of get a single layer in there.
You know what would also be fun with this recipe is you can mix up the kind of ravioli that you buy. I've seen all kinds of fun gourmet spins on ravioli, like even at Aldi. They have that sometimes. So you can find butternut squash or mushroom and cheese.
If you like goodness.
You're a mushroom lover.
I like mushrooms.
I'm a kind of okay mushroom person. But I would like butternut squash. That'd be kind of fun. All right, next up. So she's got our raviolis, back to our sauce. So whatever the remaining sauce is, you want to divide that between your 2 dishes.
Okay, I'm using up all this?
Yep,
Okay.
you're using it all. Go for it, girl.
All right. Okay.
So the last step then is more cheese. So yeah, go for it.
I know.
She's got like
Very
more
accurate.
than enough cheese.
I did. This is a big bag. Just because I was like, I know I like cheese.
So after you get that cheese on, the last thing you're gonna do is you need 2 pieces of foil. And we suggest spraying it with some cooking spray on the side that's going to face the cheese. And then I'll just keep it. I'm going to let you do that. Does it work? No.
That'd be a great blooper.
All right, last thing is we have lids. If you don't have a lid, you might want to do a double layer of foil. But the last thing you want to do is you want to tape on your fake out lasagna freezer labels.
Yep.
And I happen to have some more packing tape here.
And we'll put a link for these types of containers in the notes as well. So
these are Anchor Hawking container 8x8s, and we just love these.
I like that you can see through the top of them, just because sometimes you forget what your meal is if you don't have a handy label like we're providing.
And one of the things you'll notice when you make this is it's very full.
Yeah.
So don't be surprised. You'll have a lot. When you bake it, do bake it on top of a baking dish.
Yes.
Maybe covered with foil just in case you have something spill over.
Yeah.
All right. Are we done with our last step?
Guys, congratulations! You just made 6 meals
in just 1 hour.
Woo! Good job, guys. Now remember, you can find this prep session and so many more at onehourfreezerprep.com or in the description below.
Thanks for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe and join us for our next video.